Hey everybody, welcome to Away Games, a Chicago Cubs podcast, and we are recording this right now. Well, first of all, I'll tell you who we are. I'm Kevin McCaffrey. I'm here with Adam Amawala. What's up, Adam?
Hey, how's it going?
It's fine. It's it's
It's as it usually is. It's passable.
Yeah, it's not. I would say it's been worse.
Yeah.
From a Cub perspective, from a personal perspective too, but
yeah. Everyone's doing okay.
Everything is just fine. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're recording this right now as sometimes as schedules demand. We are recording this during a game that seems to be going very promising, and right, we had a very good Quintana start against the Marlins.
Yeah, and that's 2 straight starts now, and that's a very, very good sign. That was one of my predictions this year that I was very intent upon, was that Quintana was going to be closer to what we thought we were getting when we traded for him.
Yeah, and he really has been. I mean, he had the one game where he got was it Keith Hernandez who said someone got their tits lit up? Was he the one? Was he the
Whoever
one?
It was, God bless him, because that's a gem of a phrase.
It sure is. Anyway, so that happened to Quintana in one of his 4 appearances, but only one of his 4, and 2 of the 4 have been absolutely dominant.
Yeah, I mean, so his last the finale of the rubber game of the Pittsburgh series, he goes out and pitches, as well as really he's pitched since he's been a Cub, frankly.
11 Ks, I think, right?
11 strikeouts, and was it 7 innings that he went? But I mean, gave up nothing.
Yeah, and against the Marlins here, and granted it's the Marlins, but he did exactly what you're supposed to do against the Marlins, and it is no given that the Cubs will dominate a bad team, as we saw, especially the first week of the year. And he went into the 8th inning, efficient, and never was really in trouble. It just looked great. I mean, he just looks in control of everything, and that's really exciting.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and I think I feel like, If the Cubs hold on and win here tonight, and as I'm speaking these words, Kinsler has now given up a 2-out single and is 3-0 on Starlin Castro.
3-0 on Starlin Castro. We know that is difficult to do.
Exactly. But if the Cubs hold on and win tonight, you have to be pretty happy with how their last week went.
Yeah, it's. I mean, it was good. We finally saw the first truly good Darvish. Mm-hmm. Yesterday too. He was good against the Marlins. Obviously he was good in a weird way at the very end, but he was just straight up solid. It looked like he had an idea where his pitches were going. I don't know if I can remember a guy moving up and down in fastball velocity in a nonlinear way.
Right, yeah. I mean, the last fastball he threw that hit Brinson was, what, 99?
It was 99. The one before it was 99. The one before that was 98. And you're 6 innings in at that point. And earlier in the game, he was 94, 95. And then he dropped down to 92 for a while. And it really just seems like he's adding and taking away based on feel, based on how he can command it. And he was really feeling it at the end. And I was annoyed when Joe yanked him.
And if he's doing that on purpose, that's probably a good way to keep people off balance.
Yeah, totally. So that was it was very encouraging to see the first actually good Darvish this week.
Yeah, and I understand the whole thing of his previous start, which was, I want him to leave feeling confident and blah, blah, blah. But, like, Joe is treating him like with a shorter leash than Jason Hamill at this point.
Yeah, to me, it doesn't really have a great effect if you're telling everybody, I want him to leave and feel good about himself. Right. He heard you say that. Like, well, I don't think it helps to treat Darvish as if he's some sort of child that needs to be packaged this way. He has pitched in the World Series. He's shut down the Cubs in the NLCS with the Dodgers. He's pitched in huge games. He does not need to be babied like this. And I think that goes for fans, too, who I think a lot of fans obviously we are anti-heckle. We don't boo, all that stuff. And, we're not haters here on Away Games. Follow us at Away Games Pod on Twitter and Instagram. You'll see how much we're not haters. But a lot of fans, I think, I've seen on Twitter a lot of making excuses for you in the first, really over the past year. And he was hurt a lot last year. There's nothing you can do about that. But in the first couple weeks of the season, a lot of excuses. The ump's bad, this and that, and the weather, and if he didn't give up this hit. You as a very good pitcher, we should be treating him like a Major League Baseball player and take the kid gloves off.
Right, and I like everything that he said after games. After that previous start where Joe took him out pretty early, he said, I want to go 200 pitches the next game.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you heard his, oh boy. And as I'm watching, wow. Okay. So if anybody was watching, and I imagine if you're listening to this podcast, you probably were, I guess it will have been last night. I'm not even sure who that was, but there was a ball hit about 402 feet to center field that Almora just caught that would have tied the game.
Oh my God. This is really, we're watching, I'm watching you on the video screen looking up. You're watching the game. I am not seeing the game right now. So really watching you react and with that tone is like listening to, it's like when you would listen to Ron Coomer do play-by-play, where it's like, what's happening? I can't.
Was it good or bad? Yeah.
Yeah. But you were building up the drama on purpose as opposed to Ron Coomer is just confused about describing things.
Yes.
But I should say I was listening to some Cubs radio, and Coomer, I think, has gotten much better even about just talking about a hitter's approach. It seems like they're leaning into getting him to just dive into that a lot. And he never should have been doing play-by-play in the first place, even for an inning. So that's not really on him.
And it's funny. Sometimes Pat will try to lead him into things, and he still doesn't get it. Like I was listening on Saturday, the game that they lost to the Angels, and they were talking about how Chris Davis had finally broken out of his slump, and it was like a perfect lead-in of Pat trying to lead Coomer to talk about, like, was there a time that you had a slump and how did you feel getting out of that? And Coomer just goes like, well, it's good to see him break out of that. So what else is up, Pat?
Yeah, it's great.
Just trying to engage with you as a former ball player.
Yeah. Pat is really trying to set you up here. He's dancing around. But
what I was saying about Darvish is that after his start yesterday, when a reporter asked him, so, you didn't walk anybody in your previous start, and tonight you walked 4. Like, what accounts for that? He just goes, I'm you, Darvish.
That's pretty good.
So at least he's got a sense of humor about it. But to your point, I think Madden having that short of a leash with him, it probably makes him feel like he has to be perfect, and then that's not helping either when you're out there on the mound.
And I think it's kind of it's how they also, to me also, I'm not a huge fan of how they've treated Kyle Schwarber in a similar way, where it seems like when Schwarber slumps, which he has this week, Schwarber went kind of into a deep, week-long slump, but now he hasn't started 3 games in a row. I think is correct,
right.
And including today, which was against a righty. So. I'm not in favor of that sort of thing either. A lot of guys, it's weird. A lot of the big bats are slumping right now. So Kyle Schwarber's slumping, Anthony Rizzo's slumping. But Anthony's doing what he always does. He still gets on base, but he hasn't had a hit in a while. It feels like, and Chris Bryant has not been Chris Bryant yet. So and just to make the season even weirder, the people who are really thriving offensively. Obviously, Baez has been heating up and Contreras has been very good, which is what we hoped for. But you've got guys like Hayward and Descalso and Caratini prior to his injury really leading the charge, which is not what you expected, but I think that bodes well for any team in any sport. Like if your bench mob is doing a pretty good job, the other guys are going to turn it around as they always do. Yeah, and Bodie's been doing well too. Bodie's had a really strong week. The big RBIs yesterday, and that was one thing I wanted to say was Javy Baez. I think he's better than he was last year. I think he was the popular pick for regression, which isn't even a negative thing. He had an MVP caliber year. It's normally people regress from that. But right now he's hitting roughly like 293, 30, 530. That's what he was last year.
Yeah.
And he's had a couple of mistakes at shortstop, but for the most part has looked great out there. And between him and Descalso playing well, Zobrist looking fine, and Bodie doing well, I look at this roster, and neither one of us is a big Addison Russell fan. I don't see how to fit him on the team from a baseball perspective.
Right.
I mean, like, unless you're saying, okay, you send Mark Zagunis down, and then because Chris Bryant's playing more left field lately, so that's basically your outfielder there, which, I mean, okay, fine, I guess I could see that, but really, Addison Russell, from a baseball perspective, seems to me to be the 25th man on this roster at best.
Right. It's not like we have a team where we're, like, throwing Mike Freeman out there at shortstop every day because Russell is not available to play. There are plenty of guys to fill in.
Yeah, and exactly, and like you said, I think it's when you have the bench mob and those guys, some guys, you expected Wilson to bounce back. I mean, Wilson's slugging about 850 right now, so I mean, that's super. He's not Barry Bonds, but he's bounced back like we hoped, and Javy's being exactly the Javy we got last year, which is great, but. Hopefully you get your Bryant and your Rizzo and your Schwarber being who they're supposed to be, and then you're really causing trouble, which could be finally a little reason for optimism.
Yeah, and I think we all feel better after the past week, but at the same time, if the Cubs hold on and win tonight, it will literally be the first time they've won back-to-back games the entire season, and that's not what you're hoping for in mid-April.
Weirdly, last year they didn't win back-to-back games forever.
That is true.
Right?
Yeah, I think they started out winning. Basically, they got back to 500 every single time until they were like 9-9. And
I think so. Finally,
after that point, they kind of got going a little bit. But
yeah.
I mean, there have been a lot of things to feel really good about this past week, whether it's the bullpen regressing or improving to the mean, I guess I should say.
Sure, yeah.
So the bullpen has looked good for the most part, other than a couple of walk-happy outings on Saturday. And that was an extremely frustrating game between the walks, between what happened with Schwarber at the end, and maybe he went around, maybe he didn't. But I mean, it just for a game to end that way is just so unsatisfying.
It was super unsatisfying. And Contreras, who's been great, I will not accept shitting on Contreras, but that at bat was terrible.
What all you need is a fly ball to tie the game.
Yeah, you really. And Wilson has, I mean, he has good plate discipline as a skill. He's got a good on base percentage, and he's got good bat control, good contact skills. That he should be a nearly ideal guy to have up in that scenario. So it was just tough, and a really tough break for Schwarber. A 50-50 coin toss on that. On that check swing, and that sucked to end it that way. But really, it shouldn't have come to that, because you shouldn't walk everybody in,
Right, and they had other scoring opportunities before that.
Mm-hmm, exactly. Yeah, that was maybe the most frustrating game of the year against the Angels there. But so far in this Marlins series,
lest we forget the opening weekend against the Rangers, there were some frustrating moments.
It
wasn't against the Braves. So
yeah, the 11-10, and then the bullpen blowing it against Braves. I mean, we're a couple weeks in. We already got a pretty good arsenal of frustrating games, unfortunately. But the bullpen, I think, has been, it has been cool to see some of those guys coming through. And Brandon Kinsler, another kind of along the lines of a Victor Caratini, offensive juggernaut. Like, Kinsler's been one of the most reliable guys to bring in there.
Well, it's been predictably and annoyingly very similar to Justin Wilson. So apparently whichever reliever the Cubs acquire this year is going to suck for the second half of this year and then be serviceable next year.
Right. But then with everyone remaining with bad feeling, like weird feelings about it, at least, no matter what the numbers say. And then Ryan has been getting a lot of run in that bullpen.
And Collins, I don't know a lot about him, but I liked what I saw out of him at the end of the game last night.
I really like Collins when he was a prospect coming up. Mainly because
that curveball looks pretty tough.
Good, tough curveball, and he used to have even more velocity, but I mean, he's left-handed reliever throwing 92, 93, topping around 94, and also he's like maybe 5'7". He is basically the shortest pitcher. I think he is officially the shortest pitcher in the major leagues.
I mean, he makes Pedro Martinez look like Randy Johnson.
Yeah, yes, exactly, in many ways. But he's been an interesting pickup. I think that's a totally cool pickup. And Kyle Ryan, also a weird guy. Fun fact about Kyle Ryan, he releases the ball further towards first base than any other pitcher. Which is strange, because you would think that would go to a big lefty, like a big lefty with long levers, almost like a Chris Sale or something, who swings out to the side. But Kyle Ryan, he has a supremely weird release point, which helps him be effective when he
right.
is.
It was funny last night during right before Darvish got pulled. They showed that image of like whoever's warming up in the bullpen, and you see Ryan and Alan Webster next to each other warming up. And I just thought to myself, like, man, if I'd shown myself this video 2 weeks ago, I would have been like, something has gone horribly wrong.
Yeah, exactly. 1 second.
By the way, Cubs just got another run on a sac fly from Zobrist to drive David Bodie. So 4-0 in the top of the ninth.
How about that? That is a good scenario. I dig that.
I don't even mind that now Strop can't get the save for my fantasy team. I'll take the insurance. Okay.
I know. At this point, I'm not going into individual stats quite yet. It's like let's secure this win, get to 7-9, and let's
just get back to 500. I mean, how good would that feel?
It's a lot more fun to be like 500. You just don't you feel underwater with the Cubs right now when just looking at that record and thinking, oh God, you got to string together a streak to even be 500. And then once you get to 500, you feel like the season really starts. Also, Christian Yelich only hits home runs now, so that's frustrating.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. No, so much for any regression there. It's pretty crazy.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's none yet, which is weird. Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, hold on and win tonight. It would be great to get the sweep tomorrow, and this is exactly the kind of team that you should sweep. Mm-hmm. And then at that point, you're a game under 500 with 3 games at Wrigley against a not very good Arizona team, and then hopefully you get on a little roll there.
Yeah, and I'm gonna be at Wrigley on Saturday.
Hey, I didn't know that.
Going back home for Easter, so I will be there with the McCaffrey clan and Great. 2 of the McCaffrey clan's ladies, I believe, and my mom. So we are there. We are going to hit up the Hotel Z, across the street.
Oh yes. I thought you were talking about the Catalina Club.
Oh no, no, yeah, I'll hit all the clubs I can, but basically, we're gonna cocktail it up there, and then Saturday. Do the Saturday thing at Arizona. And last time I went to an Arizona versus Cubs game.
Yes, the Bodie tie game and the Rizzo walk-off.
Correct, with friend of the show Ken Schultz and friend of my marriage, my wife Jamie McCaffrey, we're also friend of the show. But yes, that so hopefully we'll repeat that.
Well, you mentioning Hotel Z gives me the perfect segue to talk about Big Z.
Yes,
Carlos Zambrano. Who is planning a comeback.
That's a good final. That's a good wild card way to to wrap the show. Yeah, tell us what we know about that.
So apparently Zambrano was at the game last night, the Cubs Marlins game. I believe he lives in Miami. I feel like he's always at Marlins games, so I assume that he lives in Florida. But said that he is planning a comeback, and it's not that crazy because he retired so suddenly and so young. That he seems older than he is.
He's younger than Ben Zobrist.
Yeah, exactly.
He's younger than Ben Zobrist, which is one of the weirdest baseball
37.
facts I know. Yeah.
It's very strange. And the fact that Zambrano retired at 30 is also strange in and of itself.
For sure.
But he, without being disrespectful, it sounded like he had some sort of epiphany and literally says, like, I believe that it is my calling. Like, I believe that God told me it is my calling to play baseball again. And you know what? Who am I to say that was not the case? So apparently he is going to play with an independent league team or like an Atlantic League team.
I believe it's
Chicago.
The Chicago
right?
Dogs.
Yeah, they play in like Rosemont or something like that.
Yeah, I assume it's the little stadium right by the airport.
Or by that? Oh, okay, out by Midway.
Out by O'Hare.
Okay.
But between O'Hare and that Zanies, yes, by the Rosemont Zanies and O'Hare. Yeah, I assume that has to be it. But yeah, it is funny to be like, God has called me to go back to my job.
It's called me out of the bullpen of life.
Exactly, to relieve myself, so to speak. It is so.
We're assholes.
Yeah, it is. It's funny because it's like, yes, God blessed him to play baseball, called him to play baseball, and then he stopped, and then God was like, what are you doing? No, go back. It's you rarely hear about the second God calling for the same exact thing that he called you for the first time. But I'm down, man.
Well, if there's a time, it is this weekend.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, perfect. He is risen, Carlos Zambrano. That is perfect. He is one of my few Cubs jerseys, so I try to buy them sparingly and meaningfully.
Yeah, I have. I believe I don't think I have it anymore, but at one point I had an authentic Carlos Zambrano jersey, so one of the $200 ones that I just found at a TJ Maxx in Central New Jersey for like $15. It was just there.
Ah, that's great.
No explanation. It was great.
Great value. I mean, God called you and to purchase.
There it is.
Yeah.
But you know what? I mean, I'm not saying the Cubs should go sign him like Luke Farrell, but I mean, if he says he thinks he can get it back up to like 95. Why can't he be a reliever? Who knows?
Yeah, no, I would friggin' love that. I would love. Could you? I mean, just the ovation on a September call up, Carlos Zambrano coming out of the pen, just breathing fire, hitting dongs.
Right. Yeah. He and Matt Merton can come up the same day.
Oh, I'm totally down. Let's just get weird, old timers, but kind of present timers by actual age game.
Old timers under 40 day.
Really, it's in our current media landscape, it's all about being specific and really narrowing down a focus, and that is a super narrow focus. Also, just what I feel like in my own life. I feel like an old timer under 40.
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
I feel like an old as fuck 36, man. Yeah. Well, that's great. That's a fun bit of news too.
Yeah, totally.
And another fun thing. It's not fun that Victor Caratini got hurt, but I like Taylor Davis. He's a fun dude. His offensive stats have been, for a catcher, pretty good for a long time in the minors. I'm interested. I hope he gets to have some fun and make a little bit of an impact as a backup catcher, unless until the Cubs make another move or until Victor comes back.
Right. I mean, it sounds like the Cubs at least have enough off days coming up in the next week or two that Contreras can probably start all of those games and it won't be a problem. But yeah. I think the best thing, scenario would be hopefully maybe at the game you're at on Saturday, if the Cubs get up 9-0 in the fifth inning, then you put Davis in for the rest of the game and let him get in a couple of bats.
I'm all about that. Yeah, that sounds good to me.
So we are at this point in the beginning, the bottom of the ninth. Strop is in, hat tilted heavily to the left,
good,
as you would expect and hope for.
What if it wasn't?
So, I would notice. Like, yeah, that's like a true Cubs fan thing. Like, if his hat was tilted the other way, he'd be like, no.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'd be like, what is he trying to tell us? What's happening?
He's pulling a CC on us.
Yeah, yeah.
But any other thoughts for the past week or looking forward? Anything you're still concerned about?
No, I mean, yeah, I'm concerned about everything. But I hopefully just Lester doesn't rush back. We get him back healthy, and I'm basically happy that the starting pitching. I think Kyle Hendricks just needs to stop hanging fastballs. Mm-hmm. But besides that, I mean, I think the starting pitching's looking more like what it's supposed to be too. So it's starting to feel.
Yeah, Hamels looked fantastic.
Great.
In his start against the Angels. Obviously, Q has looked tremendous.
Yeah.
Hendricks, I do agree. It's a little concerning, but I think to your point, it's just leaving a couple of balls up a little bit too much.
Yeah, I'm not big picture concerned about him, but he just needs to get on track a little bit. But yeah, I think it's for the most part, the team's starting to look in small pieces a little more like what we expected it to. So I'm looking forward to that. And honestly, once they get to 500, I'll feel like the season actually started again. As you said before, we were looking forward all off season to like, just Jesus Christ, get us to the actual baseball. And once they get to 500, I'll be like, okay, now we're starting.
Well, and the funny thing about it, because the Cubs are now, if they win tonight, I believe they're 7-9, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then if they can win tomorrow in Miami, let's just say they win the next couple games, sure, they get back to 9-9.
Yeah.
It would be such an insanely different feeling from them being at 9-9 last year because of how horribly the season began.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, that team was 9-9 last year and won 95 games. So Let's get back to 500 and actually play like the team's been playing for the past week or so.
And I think this roster's better. So, that's something. Awesome. Cool. Well, good catch up. Glad we could work this out. And man, I'll come on at least and do an emergency pod if the Cubs somehow fucking blow this with a couple outs to go.
Well, so there's now 2 outs. I almost feel like I should just stay on at this point.
Yeah.
But Albert Almora made another. He's made several extremely good catches in the past couple of days. That first out of the game yesterday was amazing. He made a great dive and catch today, and then now he was running so fast that his hat fell off as he was sprinting and exposed his nice lettuce to the world.
Yeah, I've come around on his hair, as we may have talked about. It looks pretty good. Yeah,
it is. It's kind of like old school Rizzo hair from like 2014.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. He had an era of that kind of floppiness as well.
Well, let's do a quick. It's 2 outs now in the bottom of the ninth, so hopefully we get a 1-2-3 inning here, and we can celebrate, or you can celebrate by watching me celebrate.
Yeah.
Give me a quick prediction for the next week or so until we talk again. So that basically means one more game against Miami, 3 against Arizona, and then one on Tuesday night against the Dodgers if we get there.
Sweep the Marlins 2 out of 3 against Arizona, and fuck it, beat the Dodgers.
Yeah, and if that happens exactly that way, I think that puts the Cubs at a game over 500 the next time we talk.
One loss over the next week. Let's see if we can do that. Yeah.
All right, we got Strop 3-1 on whoever is batting right now. I didn't even see who it was. So if he gets him right here, we'll end on a high note, and if not, we'll end on a hopefully
right.
Oh, and backhanded by Zobrist, and out on a nice scoop at first. Cubs win.
Oh,
Cubs win.
Look at that! What timing?
Did I do it? Was that a good Lenny?
I think you did. Yeah, that was a good Lenny, and I'll tell you what.
Repeated Cubs win at a higher volume.
And I'll tell I turned it on my phone right at the end there. Ben Zobrist still got it at second base.
He does.
He's getting around, man. Follow us at awaygamespod on Twitter and Instagram, and if you haven't, write a review. Email us at awaygamespodcast@gmail.com. Hit us with questions, topics, anything you want. He's Adam Mamwala. I'm Kevin McCaffrey. Anything else?
No, man.
Yeah.
Enjoy Wrigley Saturday.
Thanks, dude. I will. Go Cubs.